Part 2. Okay. She says, why don't I just make a phone call? And this will explain to you just how far my power can reach. And the phone call he makes is actually to Jeremy. He says, hey, that thing I told you to do? Can you go do it now? And what that thing was for Jeremy to take his protection ring off his finger, walk outside, and stand in the middle of the street. And they're looking at him like, is he crazy? What the hell's going on? In the midst of all this chaos, Tyler disappears. And they're like, why is he standing in the middle of the street? And then a speeding car comes down the street and it's about to hit him. Elaine is understandably freaking out. Alaric runs in the middle of the street, pushes Jeremy out of the way, and gets hit by the car for his trouble. Forgot to mention, the driver of the car was also the same person that Elaine, I believe, was following her in the beginning of the episode. She was having a jog in the morning because apparently she's keeping up on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer shtick to get herself in shape to take down the vampires. She was having a run and she felt like somebody was following her, and this guy with the black hoodie, what is it with the show about vampires with black hoodies? Anyway, was following her. And he tried to make it look like he wasn't, like it was an accident that he was down the same road that she was. And she tried not to think much of it. You could tell that she's starting to feel paranoid. And when the car drives past, she looks at the face of the driver. It's the same person. Now she knows that person's been sent there by Klaus. When they take his body back inside, because she sees that he's got the ring, so she figures that he'll wake up. It's fine. She's still kind of freaked out, but she knows, he'll wake up. It's fine. They're sitting there waiting and waiting. If you've noticed lately, it's taking a lot longer for Alaric to wake up from these little death traps. Why is it they keep killing Alaric? At some point that poor guy's going to die and then not come back. But anyway, Jeremy is like freaking out. What the hell? And she asked him, who was it that was on the phone? Because it was obvious that he was compelled. Who was it that just called you on the phone? And he struggles to remember, and then he says it was Klaus. And he looks and says, where's my ring? And she says, it's on the freaking table. Tyler was here to cozy you up to make sure that you did what Klaus wanted you to freaking do. He did this to you. And at first, Tyler, Jeremy doesn't want to believe it, but it's actually, it's true. And he knows all the details just as much as she does. And at first he says, I think the only thing that's going to keep us safe is if we pack our bags and we get out of town. I mean, obviously he's not going to stop till we're all dead, and we can't count on Stefan because Stefan's off in his own world. But she knows that there's no way that they can do that because he will hunt them down and he'll find them no matter where they run off to. So eventually Alaric wakes up and they think he's okay, but then he starts coughing up blood. Apparently he's been healed, but not healed enough. And he's probably going to die if they don't do something. So Elena calls 911 to get help. The paramedics come to get him out, but then that same vampire guy shows up, compels them, and they drive away in their ambulance, and she's stuck there with this vampire at the front door and Alaric dying. When all of a sudden, you hear a shink, and there's Jeremy, who just shot the vampire through the back with a bow and arrow. He walks inside, goes to the kitchen, grabs a huge butcher knife, and proceeds to go back outside and lop the vampire's head off. Obviously, Jeremy has definitely gotten in some field time. He used to be, the shrinker. Now he's not the shrinker, he's the doer. And he's been around this stuff long enough that it's starting to become second nature, which is kind of highly disturbing. He says to her, now we've got to get him out. We've got to get him to hospital. So they take him to the hospital, and next thing you see, Alaric is up off the bed putting his clothes back on. And of course, the only way that he could have healed from that, if the ring didn't heal him, was if a vampire had given him blood. So obviously, we know that Damon was there. And here comes the next big scene. Doctor walks through the door to come look at him, tell me he really should be getting out of bed, but he says he's fine and he just wants to go home. And she's amazed at how he was able to heal from all these myriad different things that was wrong with him. She didn't introduce herself first, so she does and gives the name of Meredith Fell. Wow. A ring-a-ding-ding. I know a lot of fans over the years of the show have constantly been touting the one big, sore spot in the Vampire Diaries world was that when they started the show, they left out Meredith Sules, who was a big character in the books. She was one of Elena's best friends. It was Meredith, Elena, Bonnie. Where is Meredith? Well, according to Williamson and Pleck, the cast was really so big that they just didn't have room to put her in there. But they swore that they would bring her back in some way at a later date, and here we are. Ever since season 3 started, rumors have been going around saying that she was going to be there this year in some way, and here she is. Now, understandably, they've made changes to her character. She's obviously not Hispanic. Her name is not Sules, it is Fell, which, as you all know, is a member of the founding families. So either maybe she's related to Logan in some way, sister, cousin, just a relation, I don't know. But according to rumors I've gotten, she becomes very interested in Alaric, and Alaric's going to become very interested in her. I don't know how much of a relationship will develop, considering he's still just barely getting over Jenna. But she's definitely going to be an interesting character, because Meredith was always the one that was, oblivious to Damon's charms. He never had an effect on her. And this kind of not only irritated Damon, but also kind of unnerved him. She was the one that was tough as nails. And if all that have read the books, it actually turns out that Meredith comes from a line of hunters. Because her grandfather was bitten by a vampire and rendered him insane. Because, well, not insane. The whole town didn't believe what happened, and her parents put him in an old age home to try and keep him from talking. So it turns out that Meredith is from a long line of hunters. I don't know if they're going to pursue that same plot line with the character now, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So now they know they've got to find Stefan, because if they don't find Stefan and find these coffins, Klaus will not stop. So they talk to Bonnie, and Bonnie tells them she knows where Stefan is. And she tells them to go to the witch house, which they do. The minute Damon steps into the witch house, he gets all burned up, because apparently the witches still don't like him, and they're still messing with his sun ring. It's weird they don't feel the same way about Stefan, and Stefan has done considerably worse things at this point. So you would think that they would not only fuck with his ring, but probably try and kill him while he's in the house. I don't understand why they don't, but I guess it's another question for another day. But anyway, she tries to talk to Stefan, and Stefan does this whole, you need to go away, I don't want to see you anymore, this is what I have to do, leave me alone, stay out of it. And they argue over it, and he tells her just to go. So she doesn't know what else to do. She's between a rock and a hard place because he's being a stubborn idiot. And David tells her, look, you need to be with Jeremy right now. You take care of your brother, I'll take care of mine. Let me talk to him. I'm sure I can get more out of him than you can. He gives her car keys and tells her to go see her brother, and he'll take care of Stefan. And in that he has to super speed his way down into the basement because if he waits too long, he'll get burned up. And he does. And they have some words. And it finally comes to light because David initially was angry that Stefan betrayed them, but he didn't know the real truth until he finally got the real truth out of him. That Stefan did what he did to save him because Klaus had threatened to kill Damon. He had the hybrids there, ready. And speaking of hybrids, Klaus is not the only one that's there. There's hybrids crawling around the entire town. Apparently, Klaus has come home to roost. Because not only is he there to get the commons back, he's building a house. So, Damon tries to convince Stefan to give up the coffins, or at least to work some kind of plan together because this is not helping anything. Stefan wants him to walk away. Ron is like, look, if we want to do this, we want to take down the house, we have to do it together. So they manage to reach an agreement through various punches and kicks that they will work this plan together, but Elena stays out of it. Elena is still on the whole kick that she believes that they should give Rebecca back to Klaus as a show of good faith and maybe he will leave them alone. Damon doesn't believe it's a wise idea, but they think that's the only way to go. Elena decides to do it anyway. She takes Klaus down in the basement of the boarding house, shows him Rebecca. He takes the dagger out of her back, and she's very quick to remind him that although she may come after me because of what I did to her, don't forget she will just as likely come after you because she knows what you did to your mother. And the look on Klaus's face is absolutely priceless. You think that he's an emotionless asshole, but he's really not. Trust me, he's worried. And that shows because the next time you see him, he's taking her to the house that he's building. She's laid out on a table there, and he sticks the dagger back in her chest because he doesn't want to deal with her. Her fingers are moving, which means she's about to wake up and he doesn't want her to. He knows that she will cause nothing but problems because she knows the real truth and he can't let that get out. He says he will see her someday. So for all those fans that wanted Rebecca back, oh well. I think the strongest part of this episode was what was between Elena and Jeremy. This was definitely a Jeremy strong episode. And it didn't have to be a huge big deal episode. I know a lot of fans won't like it, the direction that it's going, but in a lot of ways it's kind of a necessity. I don't think he's going to be gone for that long. I don't think they would take Jamie out of the picture like that, not for an extended period of time. She's at a point where she sees how this life they live is destroying him. He's lost everything that means anything to him. His parents, Vicky, especially now that he's lost Bonnie because of his own stupid mistake. Everything in his world is spiraling out of control. And now he's going and lopping the heads off of vampires. I mean, he's 16 years old. He shouldn't have to live his life like that. He should be able to be free, you know. And granted, he might remember what they did at some point. But at least he'll have a better life. So she asks Damon to compel Jeremy into packing his bags and leaving Mystic Falls. Going to live with some family friends out in Denver.